Hey everybody, it's Tony Cadaspati from GreatVulcanMajority.com, and today I want to talk about what Donald Trump is alleging out there about how the election is rigged. I want to take you through some interesting facts. This has been going on a long time before Donald Trump ever started talking about it, but and I don't know if he's using the right words when he says rigged, but I think I know what he's getting at, and I want to talk to you about it, and I want to give you some information because he's making a very good point. So let me get into it here. I wrote something down. It's just an observation. But over the last, I don't know how many presidential election cycles, I've noticed a pattern, and I'm pretty sure you have noticed it too. But it's always gnawed at me. This pattern has always gnawed at me, and it goes something like this. The election returns are coming in from a key swing state, and the vote count is neck and neck. You know, the Republican and the Democrat are, right neck and neck with each other. But usually it's the Republican that holds a thin lead because the rural election precincts have reported early, and that's always a Republican leaning place. But every single time, without fail, the votes in heavily Democratic districts always, and I mean always, report their tallies last. Have you ever noticed that? And I don't care which state you're talking about. I mean, if you're in Ohio, it's Cuyahoga County. Like, did you know that in the last election that Mitt Romney won everywhere in Ohio except Cuyahoga County, and he lost Ohio because of it. Anyway, but in Florida, it's Miami-Dade. In Pennsylvania, it's Philadelphia. I mean, no matter where you're talking about, it's always Democrat districts that are reporting last. And in the last few elections, many swing states were decided by extremely narrow margins, and every one of them was decided by late, and that's the key, late reporting Democrat districts. Why are they late? Why? Every district is the same size. I mean, because, you have to understand, every congressional district, I'm not talking about election districts or election precincts within the district, but every congressional district contains more or less about the same number of people. About 700,000 people live in each congressional district. So it's false to say that, well, they're more populated. Well, there may be a city, but there's every congressional district has 700,000 people. Why do they take longer to count? There's something wrong with that. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so what I wanted to try to get at here is that since every one of those is a Democrat district, and we do know Democrats try to downplay this, but we do know that there's all kinds of game playing that's going on. I mean, we can go back to when John F. Kennedy was running, and his father was reported to have said, because John Kennedy only won the 1960 election because of the way Mayor Daley fixed the Chicago vote. And that's Cook County. And his father, Joe Kennedy, said something like, I'm paying for a win, not a landslide, or something along those lines. It was a fixed vote. 1960 election was fixed. I mean, that's 56 years ago. Okay? So what I really want to get at here, though, is this whole idea of voter fraud. Democrats like to tell you that voter fraud, there's no evidence of voter fraud. How would they even know? The only reason why you ever know there's fraud is because you have a process in place that's there to detect it. Or you have an audit of a process that shows that it can't detect it, or you can examine data that says, okay, this is fraud, this isn't fraud, or whatever. Voter fraud is very easy to pull off when there are no controls in place that are sufficiently adequate to flag it when it happens. Look, in the business world, there's an essential principle of good management that every business process has to contain built-in safeguards that offer some kind of a reasonable insurance that fraud will either be prevented or detected if it happens. At every stage, the Democrats have opposed installing safeguards in the voting process. At every stage. As a consequence, ineligible people have voted. Now, Democrats will argue that that's not true, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to put the link down below in the comments. But there was a study called the Congressional, let me read this off my little note thing here. The Cooperative Congressional Election Study that was conducted by YouGov and Polymetrics, and it found that 14%, that's a big number, of non-citizens, people I'm not talking about illegal aliens, I'm talking about people that are not citizens that are here in this country. 14% of them were registered to vote. And it turned out that in 2000, I forget if it was 2008 or 2012, you'll have to check me on that, nearly 2 million of them, I think the exact number was 1.8 million, voted in the election. And guess who they voted for overwhelmingly? The Democrat. And guess who won? The Democrat. Let me also bring back bring you back down memory lane for the 2012 election. In 2012, Barack Obama won by an electoral landslide, but he only won by, I think it was 3.7 points in the popular vote. But he won by very narrow margins in 4 key swing states. He won Florida, Ohio, Colorado, and I believe it was Virginia. Those 4 states, all by around 100,000 votes. I think the exact number in all 4 of those states combined was something like 350,000 votes. Now, the way he won is that he employed a get out the vote model that was very different than what had ever been done in the past, and it was never even attempted because we didn't have the technology to do it. But what Obama did was he broke the rules that every other, and I don't mean in a bad way, but what he did was he said, look, people like me personally. They may not agree with my politics, and we can see that because the whole country thinks we're going in the wrong direction, but they like me. This is what Obama's saying to himself. So he said, we got to get the people who just like me and are registered to vote out to vote. So that's why Obama went on all these very light talk shows, late night talk shows, Jimmy Kimmel and the like, and he ingratiated himself to a largely uninformed audience of Democratic voters, and throws out his Twitter handle or whatever from his campaign or whatever. But he got people that he knew he could rely on for a vote if he could just get them out. And that's what they did. They micro-targeted enough people in those 4 key swing states and got them out to vote, and they all were willing to vote because they liked Obama. Okay? And that's how Obama won the 2012 election. And how many of those people were not citizens, I couldn't say. But the point is that when you're talking about a rigged election, and you have people who aren't even citizens voting, and who are not going to be they're not going to be hardwired into the election. But if they're registered to vote, they're going to go out. If they get a call on election day from the Obama campaign saying, we need your help, you need to come to the, if you need it, we'll give you a ride, they'll get you out to vote. So voter fraud comes in different flavors. It's not just, like the Ike Brown in Noxubee, County, Mississippi, getting boxes of absentee ballots of old people who never vote and filling them out himself, so and leaving them in the trunk of his car or whatever. It's not always like that, but just to give you another example of the kind of fraud we're talking about when it comes to the non-citizens, a couple of political scientists, and there was a Washington Post article on this a while back, a couple of political scientists did a study, and they came to the conclusion that in 2008, Barack Obama won North Carolina on the strength of non-citizens voting. Now that's a key swing state that went to Obama because, and these scientists studied it. Now, you can look at their study and you may want to criticize it if you like, but these are reputable people. These are people in the business of understanding elections, and they believe that Barack Obama won a key swing state in 2008 on the strength of illegal voters. So what's the whole point here? The whole point is when Donald Trump makes accusations about rigged elections, it is so expansive what we're talking about here. Rigged is just a word. It's just a soundbite. But he's talking about how, just as an example, the three major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, have devoted something like, I think it's maybe 15 or 20 minutes of airtime to all the WikiLeaks revelations that are embarrassing and really just terrible reflection on Hillary Clinton. And they devoted something like 3.5 hours of airtime to the accusations women have made against Donald Trump. Now, what matters more to you as a voter? Whether Donald Trump grabbed some woman on an airplane 36 years ago, or whether Hillary Clinton is making deals with the FBI to lay off her on this investigation over her server and a bunch of other things that those WikiLeaks documents reveal. What's more important to you? And the media focus. Look at the media focus. That's part of the rigging. They always look toward the Democrat with a favorable eye. They almost never turn and criticize the Democrat. Maybe now they will, because the weight, the avalanche of documents going against Hillary Clinton on these WikiLeaks is just mind-blowing if you go and read them. So the rigging is more than just, someone voting that shouldn't vote. It's more than just the media. It's all of it. It's how the instrumentalities of the federal government work to support Democrats. Look at the IRS audits of conservative organizations. They're still doing that. They're still doing that. They're still suppressing conservative organizations from getting their 501c3s, and they're suppressing the conservative vote. They are doing that. It's an active thing that they're doing. That is rigging the election. It's subtle in some ways, it's overt in other ways, but all of it is intended to drive the Democrat into power. That's what it's doing. So you're an American citizen, and I don't care if you're a registered Democrat or a Republican or anything else, but if you're an American citizen, the Democratic Party, the people who run that thing, are intentionally disenfranchising you in 2016, and this is the same kind of disenfranchisement that they did to black people after the Civil War for 100 years. And why do I say that? Because if Hillary Clinton gets elected, she has an open borders policy that's going to allow floods of people, destitute, uneducated people, maybe very decent people, but they're destitute and uneducated, and allow them to flood into this country, and it will just overwhelm us as a country. I don't have a problem with immigration as long as it's controlled, but having an open border is insanity. And Donald Trump, I believe, is correct when he says if you have a country, you got to have a border. You see, and Hillary Clinton, with her alliance now with George Soros, that's been perfectly well documented, is showing that she is a globalist. And if you're a Democrat and you're supporting that, boy, I'll tell you, I don't know. But the Democratic Party has always done this. They've always disenfranchised the voters that they feel represent the biggest threat to their maintenance and control on power. And they did this with black people in the South for 100 years, and now they're doing it to the rest of America. That's what they're doing. And I think you really need to wake up. I'm not saying that Trump is the greatest, man. Believe me, he wasn't my first choice, and but he's really the only game in town. Let's be honest, because no one else can beat Hillary Clinton, and she's really bad. And for all the people who say that Donald Trump is just like Hillary Clinton, well, I'm sorry, I disagree. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons why here because that's not the purpose of this. But I wanted to just say that, and just remember that that George Soros and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, they're all on that same team that want to turn the United States into basically no different than any other country south of us in this hemisphere. And is that something that you want? Do you want the United States to look more like Mexico, or would you rather Mexico look more like the United States? You know, I would prefer that Mexico look more like the United States. And when I say look like the United States, I'm talking about economically, socially, politically, not ethnically, obviously. Okay? But I want you to check out these links for yourself so you can see what I'm talking about. Because I really think this is an important thing. We have a broken electoral system that allows ineligible people to vote. And the only way we're going to be able to overcome that in this election is by everybody who is an American getting out to vote and making sure that we don't let Hillary Clinton ascend to the presidency. That would be disastrous. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for listening. Tony Conspati, GreatVocalMajority.com. Come visit. Thanks. Bye.